We've had a lot of negative news this week, a lot of depressing information coming at us from all directions. I want to lighten it up on this Friday morning a little bit anyway. This may be somewhat depressing, but probably more amusing than anything, and I'll share this with you from a report from a couple prestigious universities, one of them Princeton, that shows that having more than 2 kids, if you have more than 2 kids, it may have a negative impact on your late life cognition. So if you're an older parent and you've done your job, you did your bid, and your kids are raised and they're older, if you had 2 kids versus more, you appeared sharper cognitively than those with 3 or more kids. So the fact of the matter is that kids literally will make you crazy. Leigh Richardson is on the show on 700 WLW. She's a licensed professional counselor and founder of the Brain Performance Center and studies these things. Leigh, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Married, kids, no kids? Is that too personal? Me, married, 2 kids who are adults now. Where are you?
I'm exactly there with you.
Okay.
Married with 2 adult kids.
Yeah. All right.
So that means we're really sharp.
We should be pretty sharp later in life, I guess. But so take me through this. They're saying that the effect of having 3 or more kids, your cognitive decline could be measured as losing 6.2 years at the end of your life.
Well, what they're looking at in that study, and I found it interesting, is, the more kids you have, the more stressful it gets. The more financial responsibilities you have, it just gets more complex. But I did find it interesting in there. I found the pearl with having more than 2 kids.
Okay, what is that?
Well, that is that you stay more socially interactive. The more kids you have, the more integration you have, and social isolation will do more for cognitive decline than just about anything.
Okay. I guess there's a little bit there. So when we talk about cognitive decline, I mean, what does that mean? People think, what is that? Dementia, Parkinson's? What are we talking about?
No, our cognitive abilities just kind of start to lessen. I think one of the first things that people notice is memory. And, memory can be affected by how much sleep you get, by how well hydrated you keep. Your brain weighs 3 pounds, and it's 60% water. So think about it. If you don't drink water during the day, how are you taking care of that brain? How's it going to keep working for you?
All right. Yeah, I'm a big fan of water, but I'm stupid, so maybe you don't want to use me in your stead. Bad idea. Leigh, when I look at this study, it's kind of funny here. Wow, you lose 6 years old. I think I want to say they said eating stuff like fast food every day is 5 years and smoking is 8 years. Kids have a worse effect on your body than eating an unhealthy diet. That's incredible to me.
Well, it is to me, too. Except, I think everybody is the first to admit stress will kill you.
Stress will kill you.
Stress will kill you. And a lot of times, having more kids can be more stressful, particularly if you're a single parent, or particularly if, you have limited resources and you feel like that you're not able to take care of your kids the way that you need to or you want to.
When you look at the study itself, though, let's get maybe drill down a little bit into this thing. Leigh Richardson's on the show this morning. The Brain Performance Center new report out shows if you have more than 2 kids, so 3 or more kids, you have cognitive decline in your older years, equivalent to 6.2 years of aging. So kids literally make your brain rot. Let's get that out of the way. And I think that's true. I don't think you need a study to find that out to agree that kids will eventually rot your brain. I don't care how much you love your kids. Your kids drive you crazy. That's their job. And at the end of your life, you still pay for it. So is it the same? Is it hold up for moms and dads the same, or do moms get away with it? Moms seem a lot more calm than dads do about this stuff. I see the dads really getting amped up about this and not as much moms. Is that right or wrong?
Well, what I see is moms process all this stuff differently. Dads process, they let it out. They let you know they're agitated. And moms just kind of internalize it. And this is what I see in my practice. Like, okay, we're going to work this out. But that internalizing, in my opinion, is worse than letting it out. Because if you internalize it, it just keeps going round and round and round in your head.
Yeah, you do have to get it out. I mean, I'm bad at that. I'm trying to get better at it, but I don't know. It's always a challenge. But guys, like that. It's like I just have thoughts in my head, and Yeah, moms, and you know, then you just explode, right? Whereas moms keep kicking it around. Did we know too that so if I had 3 kids and that leads to 6.2 years, does that mean that if I'm one of those people that have 6 kids that I'm talking about shaving 10 years off my life here? Does it the more kids you have, is the worse it gets? If I'm one of those freaks that have 15 kids, I'm going to die like in the next 2 weeks. Was it one of those things?
Well, you know, they didn't get into that in the study. I mean, they didn't get that far. And it was interesting to me what they were looking at in that study. They were tying it to fertility. Mm-hmm. So that study was coming at it from a lot of different ways.
Okay, so there's no proportion to the number of kids. There's no insanity directly correlate the number of kids to the amount of insanity you're going to face in your life. You mentioned too at the onset, Leah, too, that this was you think it's a financial gambit is really what's driving this whole thing.
Well, I do know, you know, having kids is very expensive. If you have a special needs child, or if you have a kid that's got a physical handicap, mm-hmm. just the accommodations, you know, to be able to get that kid in and out of school can be very overwhelming.
No, that's true. I have friends that have kids with disabilities of various levels, and it takes a special person, but it also takes a toll on you too because of all the demands. And you know, you see other kids who are quote unquote normal, and no kids are normal, but you look at it and go, man, I wish that were my child, and it'd be a lot easier. And so, there's a lot of stress, and then the financial burden too. The more kids you have, the harder you have to work to do this. And I guess that would make sense. And you probably see this in your practice as younger people. We're like, well, why aren't younger people having kids? It's because it's too damn expensive.
Well, I think younger people too. I mean, they're living at home for a lot longer.
Right.
They've got to get up and get out of their parents' house before they start having kids.
Yeah, and I think the college burden has a lot to do that too, paying off student loans, and the last thing they want to do is have kids. And then they also see it's such a big stressor. I think they kind of get it too, so they're out of the kid business in that regard. It's just the amount of stress you have with children, and it never goes away. You know, as you said, Leigh, you have older children, I have older children, but you're always thinking and worrying about them, trying to help them out, and now they've got adult problems as opposed to kids problems. They're still problems.
Well, I always said the bigger the boy, the bigger the problem.
Yep, and the bigger the girl, the bigger. Well, I don't want to get into that aspect of it too, but so you as a counselor, you see this. I mean, you get it. It seems to have a lot of validity, right? That more than 2 kids adds to your cognitive decline. That it affects your brain function later in life.
Well, you've only got so much space up there, you know, and you're continuously bringing in new information, encoding, and finding a place to store it. And you know, when the computer, the hard drive gets full, you do have some issues.
You know, I notice that too as older I get. That's the thing. It's like it feels like you have a hard time remembering. You know, you get to the point where you start repeating the same stories to people. I don't think I'm that guy yet. Maybe I am. And you just forget what you told someone a few minutes ago, and it just that's what old age feels like. I guess older age, right? Your brain is full. The hard drive is full. How do you defrag your mental hard drive?
Well, you do have to clean it out occasionally. And I think the best thing to do is take optimal care of your brain. Make sure you stay hydrated. Make sure that you get enough sleep. Make sure that your diet is supportive of what your needs are. You know, and I get diet questions all the time. And my only answer is to stay away from processed foods. You know, if it comes in a bag, a box, or a can, and it's good for 2 years, there's a reason. Those chemicals that are in there may not be very good for you. And what sugar can do to the brain. So there's some simple things that we each can do to defrag.
Gotcha. What works for me is the sweet elixir of fine bourbon.
Well, we all find our answers, don't we?
I call it chemical yoga, Leah. You may call it something else. Leigh Richardson on the show this morning. She is at the Brain Performance Center. And Leigh, thanks again for the time. Have a great weekend.